¿Qué tal? Te saluda tu amiga Angel Baby y tú me escuchas en amor. Back in March, we celebrated International Women's Day with a woman who has shattered many glass ceilings to become the first woman vice president of the United States. And today, we welcome her back not only as vice president, but also as a candidate for the 47th president of the United States. Vice President Kamala Harris, how are you?
Hi, Angel Baby. It's good to be with you again. I am well, and thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time and talking to us. And things have changed a bit since we last talked, right?
Just a bit, and we have about 60 days to go until the election. So a lot of ground to cover, and Arizona, of course, is going to be a very important state in the outcome of this election.
Exactly, Vice President. And, you know, everyone is worried about the economy and inflation. The cost of living has gone up, and some critics attribute this to the policies of the current administration, which you are a part of. Some express doubts about how things can be different with you as president. What steps would you take to restore confidence in the economy?
Well, let me start by saying this. I'm running because I believe that we are in a fight for our country's future, and I want to chart a new way forward. And part of that is I think we need to turn the page on the past and in old ideas and the divisive kind of hateful rhetoric that we've heard come out of my opponent for so many years. The issue of the economy is one of my highest priorities, and it will be a defining goal of my presidency to build up and strengthen the middle class in a number of ways. That includes by taking on the issue of price gouging as an example, where there are companies that will hike up the cost of food from the pandemic through emergencies from extreme weather. And so taking them on, as I did when I was Attorney General, to make sure they're not taking advantage of desperate families. I'm dealing with the issue of what we need to do around available and affordable prescription medication. For example, we, in the last 3.5 years, accomplished a very important goal, which is to cap the price of insulin at $35 a month for our seniors. As you know, Latinos are 70% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes. So this is a very big issue that is about quality of life, but also about the pocketbook and the expenses that hold people down instead of letting them get ahead. Another area of focus for me, and then I have a new plan for dealing with the affordable housing issue, and in particular, giving tax credits to housing builders so that by the end of my first term, we build 3 million new homes, and for first-time home buyers, a $25,000 tax credit, essentially, to help people with the down payment to be able to buy a home, which we know is one of the best ways that people can create wealth for themselves and their family. Also, I'm very proud that I just announced what I'm going to continue to do to support our small businesses. I love our small businesses, and as you know, under what we have done in the last 4 years has achieved record small business growth for Latino-owned small businesses, and in particular Latina-owned small businesses. But I just announced this week that in addition, what I'm doing and my plan is to give a $50,000 tax credit to anyone who is starting a new business, to give them the ability to get on the path to actually creating and building a successful business. Previously, the tax credit was only $5,000, which we know nobody can really start a business with $5,000. And I'm doing this with the intention of knowing that so many people, including those in the Latino community, are hardworking, have ambition, have desires, have dreams, have really good ideas, but not necessarily the capital, the money to start a small business. But when they get that opportunity to just get it started, they thrive and do very well. And the whole community benefits in many ways, including economically.
And I'm glad you mentioned the middle class because they are the heartbeat of America. And yet many believe that everyone lives off of them and they get very, very little in return. But some are skeptical about the economic plan that you have put forth, and they say that it would result in higher taxes. How would you address those fears and reassure them about your approach?
No, actually, what it is going to do is, first of all, it is putting more money in the pockets of middle-class people. And I come from a middle-class background, unlike my opponent, who had a rich daddy who helped him start his career, and then he went bankrupt multiple times. I come from a middle-class background raised by a working mother who put all of her hard work into me and my sister Maya. But I will tell you, the tax issue is really pretty basic for me. The billionaires and the biggest corporations can afford to pay more, and they've got to pay their fair share. And that's one of the ways that I will address what we need to do to make sure that everyone is carrying their weight. And my plans, and the economists have talked about my plans, my plans will actually reduce the deficit by $1 trillion as compared to my opponent, who could keep, because he gives tax breaks to the richest people, contributing to the deficit and not helping the middle class, because, of course, teachers and nurses and firefighters should not be paying more in taxes than the richest people in our country.
Vice President Harris, still people believe that he can handle the economy better. What would you say to them that are listening to you right now? How could you change their minds that you could do it and even better?
Well, you should look at what I've accomplished thus far. The work that I've done, for example, that has resulted in Latino small businesses growing faster in this moment in history in these last 3.5 years than ever before, has a lot to do with the work that I have done to build up community banks and put more money into community banks so that those dollars can then get into the community and small businesses. Goldman Sachs, which is a very highly respected financial advisor and leader, has said that my plan will increase the gross national product and the GDP, and that Trump's plan would actually lower it. So these are objective analyses by some of the smartest economists in the country and in the world. And I just have to say this, is that you also have to look at this guy. He talks about being so rich. He inherited hundreds of millions of dollars from his father and went bankrupt 6 times. And I think that we know that when we look at somebody who actually has come from a working background and understands the needs of working people, that's when working people benefit. And that's the contrast in this election. By the way, 16 Nobel laureates, the smartest economists in the world, had said that Trump's plan would increase inflation and land us in a recession by the middle of next year.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
And not to mention his policies that essentially would be a national sales tax by hiking up the cost of everyday necessities by 20%, so that the economists have said that his plan would cause middle-class families to pay almost $4,000 more a year in the very necessities they need every day because of his so-called plan. So I think it's important for people to not get distracted by, his name on a tower when we ought to look at the fact that he bankrupts businesses that he's involved in, and economists have talked about his plan going forward and how it would contribute to America's deficit and actually cost American middle-class families more than they are paying now.
Vice President Kamala Harris, thank you so much for your time. I know that in conclusion, I want you to take this time to address Hispanic Americans who may be on the fence about which way to vote on November 5th.
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page on this Trump era. This person who has talked about how immigrants poison the blood of America, this person who seeks to divide our nation, belittling people, belittling members of the military, for goodness sake. We need to have a leader and a president who understands the ambitions and the dreams and the hopes and the prayers of the people, and then goes to where that is to help meet those ambitions and those dreams. That's the kind of vice president I've been. That's the kind of president I will be. And I think that's what the American people want right now, is a leader who actually understands the sign of strength is not based on who you beat down. It's based on who you lift up and bringing the country together so we can get on with doing the good and important work that people really want to do every day.
Vice President Harris, thank you once again for your time. Good luck on November 5th. That is the date of the presidential election. So if you are not registered to vote, please do so. Vote on November 5th. Remember that your vote is your voice. Make sure that you are heard on November 5th. Once again, Madam Vice President, thank you so much for your time in addressing our listeners, and good luck.
Thank you so very much. It's good to talk to you again, Angel Baby. Take care.
You too. Thank you so much.